You're listening to Little Green Cheese, Season 2, Episode 5. Well, welcome back. I'm Gavin Weber, and this podcast is where you can learn about cheese making at home. Well, I've got a special guest today. It's a Colin Giddy all the way from New Zealand, and today we're going to talk about his journey on how he started making cheese at home. So take it away, Colin. Welcome to the show, Colin.
Hello, Gavin.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, Colin.
Well, I've been farming now with my son, who's share milking, for about 9 years. And when I first came to the farm, I saw a program on the TV of Biddy Fraser-Davies. If you look her up on the TV, on the Google, you'll find that she's a cheesemaker from Ekatahuna. And I saw her program on what we call Country Calendar here. And that gave me a bit of inspiration. I thought, well, I reckon that I can have a go at that, making cheese.
Mm.
And we tend to, at the end of milking, before when we shut the vat off and start wash down, a fair bit of milk goes on the ground and it's washed away. And I thought, well, that's a bit of a waste. I only need a little bit at a time. And I found that if I collected that milk, I could had enough to make a reasonable cheese. And that's what got me started.
So when you first started, Colin, did you pasteurize the milk, or you just make the cheese raw?
No, I've been making raw cheese right from day one.
Excellent. So they must be pretty clean cows then.
Well, I'll say yes, but if most people that have been in a cowshed would probably have other ideas, quite frankly.
Yeah, I know. I grew up on a dairy farm. I know my job as a 16-year-old was to clean up all the cow poo. That was so much fun.
Oh, yeah, the square mouth shovel. I remember that as a kid.
Yeah, big wide shovel into the wheelbarrow and then dump it down the pit.
That's fun.
Yeah, so much
Things
fun.
have changed a little since then, though, haven't they?
I think it has. The cows are elevated and the people are down below.
Yeah. Now, we're milking, currently we're milking 500 odd cows here now. But the shed I was in, we had two separate herds. I was milking 165 cows. And that was interesting. I've been here, as I said, 9 years. This is my last year. I'm retiring this year and moving into town, but I will continue with the cheese making.
Well, that's fantastic. So what sort of cheeses have you made so far?
Wow. Most of the cheeses that are in Ricky Carroll's book. My favourite, though, is just to say the standard old cheddars. You can do a lot with them.
Yeah.
Peppercorns and other herbs and spices we put in them. I just did a basil and garlic the other day.
Oh, that would have been nice.
Interesting.
Yeah, that'd be nice. So how long are you gonna age that for?
Oh, probably about 3 to 6 months. Most of my cheeses I tend to age for quite some time, and sometimes when I get to it, I think, well, I should have eaten that 3 months ago. But such is life.
A little bit strong.
Yeah, but I don't mind strong cheese. I quite like it, but not everybody does.
Yeah.
Cheese is like wine. Everybody's got a different flavour.
Yeah, of course. And that's the beauty of cheese.
Yep. And speaking of wine and cheese, I've done a couple of drunken cheddars recently and one drunken Gouda.
Yeah. How'd they turn out?
I don't know yet, haven't I?
Oh, right. Yeah. So they're not aged yet.
But look, I have done them previously, and they come out quite superb.
Yeah. They have another one I made it with a sweet red wine, and it wasn't Lambrusco per se, but it was kind of close to that. It was called a Crimson Cabernet from Banrock Station here in Australia, and it turned out lovely. It had a sweetness to the outside, and the inside was just normal cheddar flavour, but, the contrasting flavours were just amazing.
What we found is we use Merlot, and I like my wine. That's another one of my hobbies, of which I have many. That's the problem. I've got so many hobbies, I don't think I've got time to retire. As far as the cheese goes, we make halloumi cheese, feta cheese, we make gouders, and we make flavoured gouders, we make Havarti.
Yeah.
I just lose count of the various types. But like tonight, I brought home a 20-litre bucket of milk from the cowshed. I'll just let that sit overnight, and then I'll take the top off it and make about 8 litres and make a batch of camembert with that.
Oh, lovely.
And the bottom, what's left in the bottom, because the cream's gone to the top of the bucket, I'll make a parmesan with what's left over.
Oh, lovely. So it'll be semi-skimmed then, yeah?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's as I said, I'll leave the milk overnight and the cream rises to the top, and I'll have a nice creamy camembert. Now, camembert, I'll make a batch of that probably once every week or 10 days.
Yeah.
8 litres gives me a good 6 camembert cheeses.
Oh, nice. Yeah, and they would be extra creamy, wouldn't they?
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
I've had a go at a couple of Cambers. It's the with the blue Roquefort in them.
Oh, the Cambanzola, yeah.
They've come out in varying degrees. I've still got to get my head around blue cheese. I'm a little bit scared of blue cheese, mostly because of the Roquefort tends to be so virulent. And if you end up with it in your fridge that you store your other cheeses, you end up with a lot of blue cheese.
Yeah, you do. Especially if you don't like vac pack during maturation, or sometimes even when you wax, I find the Roquefort sneaks in under the wax somehow, and you get all sorts of blue cheeses. But I find that vac packing certainly helps that if I'm going to mature it like that. So rarely do you get any cross-contamination from penicillin Roquefort.
At what point do you vac pack your cheese? I mean,
so I'll air dry it. So it's touch dry, and then if I want a rind to form, then I'll put it into the cheese cave at 13 for about a week, just so it goes a little bit hard on the outside, and then I'll vac pack it from there. But if I'm going to, if it's going to be a long maturing cheese like a Parmesan or a Romano or something like that, I'll vac pack it as soon as it's touch dry.
Okay.
And I find that it doesn't weep. So, but the only semi-hard cheese that I don't vac pack is Caerphilly. So I let that form a natural rind, and I keep wiping that every day with a brine solution, and I find that hardens up nice. And so you get about a 0.5 centimetre rind when you cut into it. So that works really well. So I don't vac pack or wax that at all.
Okay, Caerphilly's one I've got on the list. I've got your recipe here. I haven't had to go at it yet, but I will. Just that's the nature of making different cheeses, isn't it?
Of course it is. You know, I've got a red Leicester on my list, and I haven't even got to that yet. So, but that's
Wensleydale, that's another one that I've got here.
Yeah, so I found that Wensleydale recipe when I went on a course, the very first cheese course that I did. I've only done two, from the same ladies, and they gave me a little booklet, and I don't know where they got their Wensleydale recipe from, but I've had people contact me from the UK that have been to the factory and said that's exactly how they do it, but at a grander scale. So, and I think it tastes fantastic. I've made it about 5 times, but it takes a long time because when you drain and mill the cheese, you got to do it over 2 hours, and you got to keep breaking it up every 15 minutes. So it takes a long time. I always allocate about 9 hours just to make a 8-litre batch of that, because it just does take so long.
I've got a lot of cheeses here that have like a cheddar will take about 5 hours.
Yeah.
And I've got a lot of cheeses here that generally take most of the day. And I find that you've really got to put a day aside. I don't get too many days off, and so pretty much every time I get a day off, I'll find myself making a cheese. It doesn't give me a lot of time for my other hobbies, which is smoking meats and garlic, salamis and sausages and that sort of stuff. That's another one of my hobby things.
Yeah, I've just started to branch into that last winter, where I made some hot Sicilian chorizo and some. Oh, I can't remember. It was some sort of salami, but it had fennel seeds in it, so I don't know if that's a special region.
Oh, it's just another one of the million recipes.
Yeah, it was fabulous. So we're still eating them. I vac packed them after the 4 weeks curing when they dried out, And then, they weren't totally dried out. There was moisture in them and the like.
Yep.
And I haven't got around to doing anything fancy like smoking or anything like that. So, I'm going to experiment again this winter when it's cold enough to actually make those sorts of things because I haven't got a cold room or anything like that. So that'll be good fun.
The meat is just another subject altogether, and we will talk about that at some stage.
Yeah, I think so.
Totally right, but the subject of cheese will take up most of tonight.
I think so. I got another question for you. So, what have been some of your challenges?
Marsdam has been quite a challenge to me, and getting the eye formation. But because I make only 10-litre batches, I don't expect a great deal from my Swiss and Marsdam in relation to eye formation, because you really have the bulk of the cheese to make those eyes set.
Yeah, that's right. So you need
Proprioni
Shamani
to make the eye formation. You still don't have the bulk of the cheese itself to make it work.
Yeah,
but Marsdam's another one that I like. It's just very similar to making a Gouda. It's not a lot different. I went out to a Gouda factory not far from here, and I was chatting with the guys there, and they were making Marsdam, and I thought, well, I'll go home and I'll see if I can find a recipe.
Yeah.
And I managed to do that. And it does come out quite nice, in actual fact. It's quite a different flavour to a Gouda.
Yeah, it is. I think the propionic Shamani adds a certain nuttiness to that style of cheese. So even though you're exactly right, the recipe for a Gouda is very similar to Swiss because you've got to heat it up and it's a wash curd.
It's a washed curd.
Yeah. So very similar process. The only difference is the propionic Shamani, which adds that amazing Swiss flavour.
The Swiss cheese is something I do quite a lot of as I get a chance. Another one is Emmental, if you like nutty cheeses.
Yeah, I make that as well. It's quite good.
Yep, that's a very nutty cheese. I've tried I can't even think of the name now. It's gone. Old age gets caught up. Sorry. But it's nutty cheese. It's something with a slightly different flavour.
Yeah.
Rather than your standard off-the-shelf supermarket cheese. Well, I don't think any of us artisans, cheesemakers, are making a store-bought type cheese anyway. Because
no, that's right.
Raw cheese just tastes something quite different. Raw milk cheese, sorry.
Yeah.
And it's good. I enjoy it.
So other than the Marsden, do you have any other challenges when making cheese? How do you mature it? How do you store it for maturation?
I've got 2 fridges. One is set at about 6 to 7 degrees, and it's run by a controller similar to what I was using for my heating pan. And the other one is run at 13 degrees. Now, I mature in the warmer fridge some cheeses, and then when they are vacuum packed or get to the point where their rind is such that they can be left alone a bit, they go into the colder fridge.
Yeah.
The likes of the Camembert is actually totally ripened and matured in the cold fridge, the 7-degree fridge, rather than the 13-degree fridge. I had a little bit of a problem with my early Camemberts. They were ripening too quick and coming out a little bitter.
Yeah.
I couldn't figure out why, and it was your podcast on soft cheeses that put me right, quite frankly.
Oh, okay.
I was opening it too warm.
Yeah. I found that the first batch I did. The ammonia formation, they really, about 4 weeks, they stunk. And, even the dog wouldn't eat it. So, once I figured out...
We just turn all of our bad cheeses into eggs. We give them to the chooks.
Oh, right. Yeah, I've done that. I've done that as well before. But luckily I don't have too many failures, which is good.
That's true. That's good.
But yeah, those white rind bloomy cheeses definitely need a lower temperature, or the ammonia just goes rife and destroys your cheese.
Fine. That's as I said, I got that off your podcast, and that was good. It's one of those sharing things that you learn.
Most definitely.
And sharing with other people, and I'm quite happy to share whatever knowledge that I've got. the pan, I was going to send you an email with some photos of other bits and pieces that I've made.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'll put those in the show notes.
You showed me the a picture online, a picture of those curd cutters.
Oh, yeah, the one that David made.
I had actually already made some curd cutters, almost identical.
Oh, okay, cool.
It's quite funny. I sat down and I figured this out about 4 years ago. I need curd cutters. What am I going to do?
Yeah.
So I've made up, I just used bits of wood and some fishing line, basically, as simple as that.
Yeah.
And they've come out pretty similar. For my stirrer, I've used a stainless bracket that goes over the pot and a barbecue rotisserie for the motor.
Oh, yeah.
And that works quite good. I've just got to keep at it with from time to time with a whisk to stop it clumping. Yeah. But otherwise, that keeps the curd moving and does tend to stop it clumping and settling to the bottom of the pot, which is what you don't want.
Mm. So
40 minutes or an hour to sit and stir.
Yeah.
It's to be very time consuming.
It does.
You want to do other things.
It does, doesn't it? I find that, you got to swap arms about every 20 minutes. It kind of hurts.
You can go that long. You're doing well.
Yeah, we've got nothing better to do. So do you find the gearing on the motor for the barbecue rotisserie motor, that's slow enough?
I think it's a bit too slow, to be perfectly honest. It's one revolution. What did I say? I did actually work it out once. It's about 3 revolutions a minute, which is not long.
Yeah, that's quite slow, isn't it?
It is. It's quite slow. But I'm still working on the propeller end of it. I'm going to run, so I've got 2 propellers, if you like. The easiest way to describe them at right angles. One's fairly well up the shaft and one's down the bottom. And I'm going to attach those nylon, same as the curd cutter.
Yeah.
From one propeller to the other at an angle. And it'll just go round and that will help stop the clumping. Okay?
So a bit like those old milkshake making shafts. Remember when we used to go to I don't know if you do that in New Zealand. You know the ones.
Yeah, I remember the milk bars. I'm an old bugger too.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks for showing our age now. But yeah, they had the steel rod and they had 2 little, very small propeller type things. Is that what you're talking about? Yeah,
but my propellers are the full width of the pot.
Oh, right. Okay. But
because they go round very slowly, it's the fact that they're not trying to drive the curd anywhere, except stop it from clumping up. So
it won't cut the curd.
No.
No. Okay.
It's too slow for that.
Right. Good. That's fantastic.
But yeah, that's just part. And another one is turning my camemberts. I've made a wooden cage, so I put 6 molds in the cage.
Yeah.
I fill it up, put the bamboo mat on top, shut the lid, and I've got a handle on each end. And when he's turning over, I just turn it over.
Oh, fantastic! You got a photo of that you can shoot through?
Yeah, I've got photos of everything.
All right. Well,
they're coming up. They're going to be a continuing series.
Oh, right. Yeah, well, if you shoot some photos of those things you've mentioned in the episode, and then what I love to do is to pop them into the show notes on the blog part of the side of it, so people who listen to the podcast, they'll go to the blog and have a look at that and see what we're talking about.
Yeah, I'm on my Mark III cheese press. I made a standard press with two boards with 4 dowels, one in each corner.
Yep.
And another, the board at the top had holes in it, and it just went over the top, and I put weights on it. Well, that actually worked probably best of any of them.
Yeah, and you can, and the great thing, instead of using a spring like I do, you've got constant pressure on it, because when using a spring, it expands again as the cheese gets smaller, and you have to retighten all the time. Whereas that's really a simple method that just putting, I don't know what, gym weights or whatever on top.
That's what I'm using.
Yeah, and that works great.
I still do it. I still use that actually on the one I've got now, but it's a cantilever job.
Oh, okay. So you just hang them off, yeah?
Just it runs on a rod, and they just sit there, and they just keep a constant pressure.
Yeah.
I can get up to about 30 kilograms at the end of the rod.
So does that equal then? So okay. So normal cheddars are about what, 22, 25 kilos if you're going to press them for a long time. Yeah. So okay.
So yeah, you just slide it depending on how much weight you want. I've got it calibrated.
Yeah.
And I've got a little book with all the calibration. Because I've got 2 5-kilo weights and 2 2.5-kilo weights, and a combination of those weights at various places on the rod gives you the weight that you're actually looking for.
Oh, okay. Yep.
So that just makes it easy. But I mean, hey, there's nothing wrong with a 20-litre bucket with water in it.
Well, yeah, that's right. As long as you don't stop it from spilling.
You don't have to get so technical. It's just that I'm a handyman. I like puddling around and making stuff.
Well, I've seen a lot of people, and I did a post I asked all the readers, what do they use to press their cheese? And I got some fantastic homemade cheese press contraptions sent in. Yep. And a lot of people use plastic milk bottles filled up with water, and they just hang them off the end, So easy to gauge. 1 litre of water equals 1 kilo. It's not hard to figure out. So that's right. Yeah, so nice and easy.
The other one is, I don't know whether you've ever seen Frank House's page.
Yeah, I have.
Okay, now he just used a pot and a big piece of car tyre as a rubber band over the top. That's all he uses.
So the inner tube, yeah.
Yeah, inner tube, that's it.
Yeah.
And he just a strip of that from handle to handle, and he's got a baked bean tin underneath it, and that's all he uses, and that's perfectly adequate.
Yeah, so definitely.
You don't have to get all technical because that's just the way I am.
Yeah, yeah.
But you can keep it simple, and anybody can make cheese at home.
Oh, definitely.
Because the problem being that we all have got the habit of writing a list in your notebook and toddling off to the supermarket, and that's what we do. And it's a shame because you can make far better products at home without too much bother.
No, I definitely agree with you, Colin. I'm one of those guys that preserves his own pickled onions and makes his own pickled cucumbers and all that extra produce from the garden, and cooks with all his home, all the homegrown stuff. I love all that sort of stuff because there is no substitute for a homegrown tomato as far as I'm concerned, because the stuff you get in the supermarket is like a Mack truck run over it. So, yeah, so that was one of the reasons that I started making cheese as well, because, some of the store-bought stuff you get is so ordinary, and you don't have much choice around it, unless you go and find, artisan cheese. So, why not make it yourself if you can figure it out, which is quite easy. Start off with the soft cheeses and then work your way up to semi-hard, then hard cheeses, I reckon.
I think a prime example of that is Philadelphia cheese. It's not cheese at all.
No, it's a combination of all sorts of weird and wonderful things and preservatives. And
I don't think it's got any milk in it.
Not much if it does. And you only have to read the packet to see how much milk's in it. Yeah.
They've got all sorts of stuff that you wouldn't put in your own cheese.
Yeah, that's right. That's why I love homemade cream cheese. It's just amazing. The flavour is just so good.
Different.
Yeah, totally different than Philadelphia cream cheese.
Yep.
And you can find that recipe on my website, I think. I think it's on there. Yeah, it is. Yeah. Well, that's great.
Mr. Google gives you lots of recipes for lots of stuff.
Oh, that's right. And mostly free too.
Right. I think probably my biggest challenge still is blue cheese. I've made a few. I've had a few hiccups. I had a few little bugs in one that I had. When I got back to it in its container, it was moving. The whole cheese was moving, and it was. So the chooks got that one.
I bet they loved it too.
But then the French make a cheese with that is eaten by a particular bug.
Oh, like an insect, yeah?
An insect.
Yeah.
And it's like the coffee that is made from the nuts, coffee beans that have been through the, what's the name, monkey?
Yeah.
Whatever. It's the same scenario. They've got this cheese that they feed put these insects on specifically.
Yeah.
And the cheese is basically regurgitated by these insects, and it's a specialty of the house. I think I'll stick to frog's legs, quite frankly.
Yeah. Maybe we should ask our French friend from Nice, Jean Mansfield. I don't know if he still listens, but they make over 200-300 different types of cheeses in France. It'd be great to get some insight into that. I'll have to get him on the show.
Yeah, that would be interesting because I don't know what the insect is, but
yeah.
It is a specialty.
Yeah, and people would love it too, I bet. Oh, that's cool. So so you mentioned you make wine and stuff. So what's your favourite drink that goes with cheese?
Oh, red wine for sure.
Yeah.
Aussie red.
Nice.
Aussie red wine.
So don't they make red wine in New Zealand?
Oh, yeah, but it's a different style. I like those heavy, grunty Shiraz that you get from South Australia.
Oh, yeah, lovely.
A lot of Kiwis are Aussie reds, New Zealand whites.
Mm. Yeah, and that's the same. That's the way I like it as well. So a lot of the Sauvignon Blancs from the Marlborough region, and they're delicious, absolutely fantastic, and go really well with a soft cheese. Whereas the harder cheeses I find go better with a Merlot or a Shiraz or something like that. So and definitely some of the best Sauvignon Blancs that I've ever tasted come from New Zealand. So kudos to you guys.
Oh, we're working on it.
Yeah.
But did you look at the site for Biddy Fraser-Davies?
I did. It was amazing. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to link that in the show notes so others can have a look at that. So I've still got that email.
Good.
So I'll pop that in there because it's a quite inspiring little story, isn't it?
I can give you some more insight into that in the fact that she's had a long-standing run-in with our pencil heads in the Food Safety Authority here.
Okay, around using raw milk.
Around using raw milk. No, she pasteurises.
Oh, does she?
It's just the very fact that the rules around artisan cheese making, she got somehow on the wrong side of these people.
Oh, okay.
And they got all upset, bitter and twisted and started shaking their little notebooks at her.
Mm.
And, it's been quite a long journey for her, but she's still pumping the cheese out. She's still doing it.
I saw the some of the photos on her website that the racks of cheese are just amazing.
Yeah,
so
it is. I've been there and had a look.
Oh, okay.
And she, as I said to you, she was my original inspiration to get into this thing. Mm. And it's quite amazing what she does here.
Yeah, definitely.
A single cow herringbone shed.
Yeah, it's amazing how much cheese you can make.
She's got the little pit she walks down into and cleans the cow up, puts the cups on.
Yeah. No, that's cool.
I mean, we've got 500. We can't spend that much time on any of the cows here.
No, they wouldn't even have names, would they? Some of them would, I suppose.
Well, they've got numbers.
Yeah, on the ear.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember.
We give them names at times.
Yeah, the temperamental ones would be. Yeah, I can imagine what you call them.
Unrepeatable, but we do give them names at times.
Hey, so what words of encouragement would you have, Colin, for newbie cheesemakers that are thinking about taking the leap into the giddy world of cheesemaking?
That was a nice pun, that giddy world.
You like that?
Yeah, well, I would suggest that you shut your eyes and go for it because, look, it's so simple. When you get at it and you take a bite into that first cheese that you've made and you think, that's not too bad. I can do this.
Mm.
And, it's just the encouragement is in the product that you make. And I believe that it is not difficult to do. And once you've had a go at it and you've found yourself to be successful in whatever degree, you're hooked.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that's it.
Yeah,
you're hooked.
I think that's good words of advice because I think that actually happened to me. So once I first started making it and tasted the first cheese, that was it. I want to make all the cheeses, and you just go for it. But yeah, and you really got to source the best possible milk you can. And if you end up with store-bought milk, then that's what you got, and then do your best with it.
I would suggest that anybody wanting cow milk, as it were, rather than store-bought milk, just waltz out into the country and drive down some cockie's drive, knock on the door and suggest, this is what I'm doing. I would like to buy from you 10 litres of milk.
Mm.
And you strike up a relationship with these guys. You swap them a bit of cheese for a bucket of milk on a semi-regular basis. And, hey, you're away.
Yeah.
And I think you'll find the difference between the store-bought milk and the milk from the vat on a farm is so much different. It hasn't been puddled with.
Yeah.
Because it does get puddled with.
Yeah, it gets tortured.
After it leaves us and the tanker and heads to the factory, you just don't know what they do with it. You know?
Yeah.
Quite frankly.
Yeah.
But they actually decompose the milk into its various components, and then they put it back together to a recipe.
Yeah, they recombine it to a different fat level, don't they? Yeah.
That's it. They recombine it so that every bottle of milk that you buy is exactly consistent with the next bottle of milk.
Mm.
So, they reconstitute it to a recipe.
Yeah.
And that is where I find the consistency in your cheeses. When you're doing artisan cheese, there is no consistency in your cheese. You can make 2 Goudas on the same day out of the same bucket of milk, and they're going to come out of your cheese cave different.
Yeah, because there's so many different variables, isn't there?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But that's the fun, isn't it?
Yeah, too right. And it's been fantastic talking to you, Colin. Thanks for coming on the show, mate. We can catch up again soon if you wish, because I dare say you've got a wealth of cheese-making experience that you can share with the listeners, and they'll love it.
I'd be happy to do that.
All right. Thanks very much, Colin.
If you've got any questions, or, I don't know, if you strike any problems and you think, how do I get around this one?
Yep.
Give us a holler. I may have an answer.
Yeah, so where can people contact you if you're willing to
share? They can email me.
Yep.
At coling@number8wireless.co.nz.
Okay, fantastic. All right, thanks very much, Colin. Appreciate it.
Good one, Gavin.
All right,
we'll
cheers,
be in
mate.
touch.
Yeah, we will. Well, that was a great interview. I really enjoyed talking to Colin. You can tell by the amount of laughs we had. Now, next week, we're going to have a normal show where I'm going to answer everybody's questions. So for those who have sent me in questions over the last couple of weeks, I apologise for not answering them. If we do, the show will go quite long. So next Monday, we'll have another show. It seems to be going back to a weekly one. So I've seemed to have lots of content flowing in from you out there. So it's going to be a action-packed show. I don't think I'll have a news segment. We'll just get straight into questions. So there's a little bit of a chance that if you send in some voicemails, we can answer those first, and then I'll get stuck into the email questions. Okay, until next show. All my recipes can be found over at littlegreencheese.com, and while you're there, check out my ebook, Keep Calm and Make Cheese, The Beginner's Guide to Cheese Making at Home. Now that's available in all ebook formats. You can also find my cheese making video tutorials within the ebook itself or on my YouTube channel. There's a link over at littlegreencheese.com. Now thanks for listening, Curd Nerds. And stay tuned for the next episode of Little Green Cheese Podcast. During this podcast, you heard royalty-free music by Kevin MacLeod. I played Malt Shop Bop and Call to the Dairy Cows. Now, if you're after any cheese-making kits, don't hesitate to pop over to littlegreenworkshops.com.au. You can see a very large range of cheese-making kits, supplies and equipment.